Hello and welcome to Campbell's Spanish Tutorials. Here's a little note about what this is and what it isn't. I'm not a native Spanish speaker. I'm someone from the United States who taught myself Spanish, and I've been told that some of the things I offer to people can help them learn as well. So you won't hear perfectly pronounced Spanish from a native speaker. Instead, you'll be hearing someone from the United States who speaks perhaps a bit like you. So I hope this helps you learn a little Spanish, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Okay, here's a quick video lesson on how to tell time in Spanish, answering the question, ¿Qué hora es?, which means, what time is it? Now, remember, this is a video, so it'll go kind of fast, and you can hit the pause button whenever you need to stop and practice something or to take a few notes. Now, in order to tell time at the top of the hour, there are four expressions that you can learn. The first one, of course, is es la una, which means it is 1 o'clock, una being 1. After that, you change the es to son and the la to las, and you do the plural numbers. Son las dos, son las tres, son las cuatro, all the way up to son las doce. Now remember, in Spanish, you're saying what hours it is, so that's why you have the verbs and the articles there, and why the first one is singular, es la una, and the rest of them are plural. Son las dos, son las tres, son las cuatro, etc. Now, when you get to son las doce, you actually have a couple of other options. You could say that it is noon, es mediodía, or maybe you could say es medianoche, it is midnight. Now, that's it for the top of the hour. Now, what about at the quarter hour? Well, at the quarter hour, you have a couple of options. First thing you can do is you can use the word cuarto, which means quarter, and say things like es la una y cuarto. The E, of course, meaning and. So what you're literally saying is it is 1 and a quarter. Or you could use quince, which means 15. Es la una y quince. Now, of course, for the plural hours, you would change the es to son and the la to las, and you'd have son las dos y cuarto, for it is 2:15. Or son las dos y quince, for it is 2:15. Cuarto, of course, is the quarter of the hour. And of course you go son las tres y cuarto or son las tres y quince, etc. Now, what happens at the half hour? At the half hour, you also have a couple of options. You can use the word media, which means half, or you could use the word treinta, which means 30. So you could say es la una, it is 1, y media, or es la una, it is 1, y treinta. Of course, for the plural hours, son las dos y media, son las dos y treinta, son las tres y media, son las tres y treinta, etc. Well, that takes you through the top of the hour, the quarter hour, and the half hour. What about for the first 30 minutes of the hour, from like 1 after until 29 after? Well, you just use that magic word y, which means and. Es la una y cinco, it is 1 and 5. 2:20, of course, would be it is 2 and 20. Son las dos y veinte. Now that takes care of the first 30 minutes. What about the second 30 minutes, from like 31 to 59 after the hour? Well, you have a couple of options. First off, you could say that it is, well, for 3:40, you could say son las tres y cuarenta, for it is 3 and 40. Or maybe you want to say that it's 20 till 4, which would come out that it is 4 minus 20. Son las cuatro menos veinte. Now, what about AM and PM? For AM, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is just to say literally of the morning, de la mañana. Now, for PM, you have a couple of things you have to know. First off, early PM is of the afternoon, de la tarde, and late PM is of the night, which is de la noche. And now, for our class, we typically change over from de la tarde to de la noche at 6 p.m. But when you're traveling, you just have to listen to how the locals are talking and adapt their way. Literally, you just change from de la tarde to de la noche when the sun goes down. So that's how you answer the question, ¿Qué hora es? But there's another question in time that you have to address a lot, and that is, ¿A qué hora? A would mean at, and so you're telling what time something is going to happen at. And it's really simple too. All you have to do to answer the question a qué hora is change that es and son, because those two expressions mean what? It is 1 o'clock, it is 2 o'clock. We'll change the es and the son to a, and you've got at 1 o'clock and at 2 o'clock. And that's how that works. And then, of course, all the other things you remembered about, 1 and 5, es la una y cinco de la tarde, all that stays the same. So we're going to practice a little bit. Answering the question, ¿qué hora es? What time is it? Here's your first one. It is 4:10 p.m. I hope you remember to say it is 4 and 10 of the afternoon. Son las 4:10 de la tarde. Let's try another one. It is 12:50 a.m. And I'll give you a hint. There's a couple of ways to do this one. Maybe you said that it is 12:50 of the morning. Son las 12:50 de la mañana. Or maybe you wanted to say that it is 10 minutes to 1, literally 1 minus 10. Es la 1 menos 10 de la mañana. Let's practice another one. 8:15 p.m. And yep, there's a couple of ways to do it. Maybe you said it is 8:15 of the night. Son las 8:15 de la noche. Or maybe instead of saying cuarto, you said 15. It is 8:15 of the night. Son las 8:15 de la noche. What about it is noon? Es mediodía. And yes, you could have said son las 12. Now let's get some practice with the a qué hora. Something's going to happen at 9:10 p.m. You remember to get rid of that word son, replace it with a, and you had a las 9:10 de la noche. At midnight. That one should be fast. A medianoche. Or maybe you said a la medianoche. Or maybe you said a las 12. Any of those could work. So now you know how to answer the question ¿qué hora es? As well as the question ¿a qué hora? Of course, you can watch this a few more times if you need to until you get it right. Hasta luego.